Radio on Berlin.
You're listening to Radio on Berlin, and this is the historic show with Rinus Van Alebeek and myself, Adrian Shephard.
We are here commemorating the disappearance of Jason Honea, who is our partner in crime in this historic series of Radio On, and he proposed to go to Grazer Damm. And after a long odyssey, Adrian Shephard,
That's myself.
yep, who does now the microphone part and the recording,
Stepping
and
in.
me, Rinus Van Alebeek, are standing here. And if I had to locate us, it would be very hard. I can point in every direction, not knowing what would be 1 kilometer from here.
It is radio though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Pointing, doesn't
but still to give the impression of being lost.
It's Schöneberg though, we're in Schöneberg, aren't
Oh,
we?
is it Schöneberg?
I believe so. Kaustrasse and Grazer
And Grazer Platz. And we are here because Jason told us that we had to do
R.I.P.
a show on Grazer Damm. And especially our meeting point would be the Kaustrasse. Well, fortunately, thanks to this odyssey, especially of Adrian, waiting everywhere, I had the opportunity to cycle around and to get an impression of this huge area. And I also understood why we had to go to the Grazer Damm and the Kaustrasse. Let's start walking.
Yep.
The reason that you hear not a lot of traffic, because the Grazer Damm is a very much frequented wide road leading the traffic towards Berlin, because further down is the Saxer Damm, and the Saxer Damm is one of the rings that brings you to the east and to a motorway, and to the west, leading you further to the Potsdamer Straße, leading you further to the heart of Berlin. So this is one of the big roads coming from the south that will bring you to the center, and of course vice versa, to get you out of it. And we are now in front of the very reason why Jason wanted to bring us here, given his predestined or his preoccupation or his fascination for the fascist era of Berlin. Because when this Grazer Damm was built, and more on the history of that later, the entrances to the houses, and we are at Kaustrasse number 5, got some ornaments in the form of little sculptures.
Yeah. Right
And
above the door here, number 5.
Yeah, and can you guess what this is?
That looks like some young lad with shorts on, with a military hat on and a woggle around his neck, and and a belt and all that kind of attire. He looks like some kind of Hitler Youth thing, but it can't be. There's also a guy walking up towards us who looks very similar, in fact. So is this whole area, yeah, I'm fascinated now as to what the history is.
This is Hitler Youth.
No way. And how come it's still on the side of, oh, there's a flag behind him as well.
Yeah.
So how come it's...
Because they couldn't care less.
I didn't care.
And the next one.
Oh, this is crazy. Well, I'd say I wish you were here, but to our listeners out there, but actually, and the next one, yeah.
So this is house number 7.
Yeah. We've got to take photos of all this stuff.
And what do you see there?
Well, there's a young lady, a young lass, complete with, I guess it could be some kind of military sort of uniform. She's got boots on. She's got the braided bunches in her hair. She's looking very serious, and she's got her hands on her hips and looking very like I'm gonna take over the world, or I want to invade something. She doesn't have a flag behind her, but and this is the little statuette that's above number 7 here, as Rinus just said.
And even despite the concrete, you can see that her hair is blonde.
Yeah. Grey now.
So you had the Hitlerjugend, and that was for boys.
Oh, God.
And you had the Bund Deutscher Mädel,
Uh-huh.
and that was for girls.
Yeah.
And that's this.
Wow. amazing. And
So both of them are represented here.
so how old are these buildings then?
1938, 1939.
Really? So
Yeah.
they weren't bombed. I mean, this
No,
building
one
itself.
part, if you continue here, you will see that the right side was completely bombed.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's nothing standing at all anymore. That was bombed. Some of these buildings were bombed and rebuilt. Why, I really don't know, because I would say after World War II, they had a lot of problems of housing the people.
Oh, hang on a second. Getting windy problems. Now.
Okay.
Maybe we can stand in a doorway.
Yeah, we can go to the interior.
I don't know. Can you go into this building?
Yeah,
I mean,
they've got an interior courtyard.
yeah. But I also want to say that, because it's not apparent to our listeners, I guess, but people live in this building. So it's a huge apartment block, and it's so old.
Yeah.
Like you say, doesn't look so old, but and it's just got these square sort of windows on the bottom side. It's actually got these archway sort of windows. What's this image there? There's a guy above number 3 here.
Yeah. These are the only ones with references to Hitler politics, but all the others are references to fairy tales.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Which is very traditional, I guess.
Yeah.
German traditional fairy tales.
Yeah.
Or
And in Holland, there's a leader of the extreme right party, and one of his favorite places to go is a theme park, which is built around fairy tales. So I don't know what it is with crooks to have this fascination with fairy tales.
This is pretty crazy, because around here is very neat and tidy, very organised. It's very different to Kreuzberg and Neukölln. I mean, everything is blocks, but they're not huge apartment blocks, are they?
No,
It's
no,
like 4
no.
or 5.
I will come to talk about that later. We've got a bench there, and here the neatness and the tidiness looks a little bit different, because this is the foul breath of Nazism, where it just looks ugly and not attractive and not appealing. It looks like from people go away, or if you're a fugitive from some Romanian or Moldavian suburb, you might be very happy to live here. But this is not Berlin standard, I think. So for this whole history of Grazer Damm, and first I will explain why this is called the Grazer Damm. Because in 1938 there was a big celebration of Austria becoming part of Germany, which was called the Anschluss, the connection. And to celebrate that, or to honor that event, this street here was called Grazer Damm, because Graz is one city in Austria. And they've got even, how do you call it, the weapon of a city? The heraldic sign?
The shield?
Yeah, so they even got the shield on the Grazer Platz, they got the shield of Graz, so laid out with little stones. It's a mosaic, and under it is written Graz. And another shield is somewhere else visible as well as one of the ornaments.
So it's a homage to Austria? Or
It's an homage to that fact that Austria became part of the German Reich.
And for some people who don't know, Mr. H was actually born in Austria.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, look up your history, guys.
Braunau am Inn. Braunau am Inn, in the very east, almost on the border with Bavaria. There was a mountain in between it, because it is a mountainous area.
Even the mountain couldn't stop him.
Yeah. But it's just a short ride to Salzburg, and then from Salzburg is a very short ride to Munich. So that's his corner. That's why he preferred to be in Munich rather than to be in Berlin. It's the same culture, no? But in Germany you had the Weimar Republic, and the Weimar Republic was, if it had the chance to develop, it could have been one of the best examples of how to apply democracy and social democratic ideas into society. So what they started with was to build a lot of houses for the people, and they went away from the principle of stuffing people in houses where they were cramped together, where the next neighbor was 5 or 6 meters across the courtyard, where they had hardly any light, hardly any sunlight, and hardly any air to breathe. So the opposite of the Bauhaus architecture was to give people space, to give people light, and to give people sun, which means that the houses were also spacious. The area around it was spacious. They had flat roofs, so that was an expression of modernism and of progress. And the houses were rather big, with big kitchens and big bathrooms. And all the rooms were to the south, so that they got the sunlight. But when Hitler came, Bauhaus was not popular anymore, because that were the others. So
small was in,
and they couldn't care less about housing and about building.
Wow.
In the last 7 years of the Weimar Republic, there was 170,000 houses built in Berlin. During the whole Nazi era, which was 12 years, 120,000.
Wow.
But then Speer came with this idea, together with Hitler, to change Berlin into Germania. And Germania, if people come to Berlin and they go to Gesundbrunnen, which is a train station, there's an entrance to an organization that's called Berlin Unterwelt, Berlin Underground, the world underneath. And in the entrance there's a little room where you can see the maquette of, so the plan of what the center of Germania would look like.
So it's like a model village then?
Yeah, it's like 2 ping pong tables, or maybe the size of 4 ping pong tables. You know? And you see the big dome, and you see the central axis that's going to where now is Südkreuz. There would be a giant arc, and then there would be a railway station. And then this part, which was the central part, around it, satellite cities or big neighborhoods would be built. And this one, on the Grazer Damm, is the beginning of what was supposed to be the Südstadt, the city in the south, with 200,000 people living here. So this is part of Speer's city plan.
Yeah. And he was the architect.
And he was not the architect.
He was not.
He was not the architect.
So Albert Speer, who was he?
Albert Speer was the architect who did the big work. And he was also very keen on money. Whenever there was, how do you say, not an order, but when he got a commission to build something, the fee for the architect was a percentage. So the more expensive that project was, the more he would earn. There was not much money in this.
Yeah. Okay.
There was not much money in this. And
in housing?
In housing,
yeah. Okay. Because of the war effort? Or?
No, yeah, they had not the war effort, but the pre-war effort.
Okay.
Because Germany wanted to become autarkic, so that they would be self-sufficient in every way. Oil, you name it. But also they were building up this war machine. So all the money went there, and that meant that not a lot of money could go into housing. And then those poor architects, I thought, should I remember their name? But I think they wouldn't be happy if they were mentioned. Because they got so little money that they couldn't do anything at all. There's nothing extra at these houses, and that makes it so.
So hence everything is very stripped down here, and
yeah, because you see balconies, and I come to talk about the balconies later, because they don't belong to the original design. They didn't have money to put extras.
Right.
You have a little some corners somewhere where it looks like a corridor, you know, with these pillars, but they are like 6 or 7 meters wide, and then they did this very stupid and narrow-minded, these little sculptures about the door with fairy tales, for God's sakes, and then I went more up to the Grazer Damm, and maybe they were thinking of the children. From if the children go into the because they've got the entrances. You see a hallway there, and you see a hallway there.
Yeah.
Some of them are just very simple. It's a go-through corridor, but others
between the houses.
yeah,
so you can
and
get
others
through.
to come from the street to the house. They've got also like arches. It's a little bit more monumental, as if you're walking towards a temple. But it's very last idea of that, from the very last memory, the last echo. Do you hear temple? What you say? So if you think hard, you might see it. But to the entrance, they got like statues of bears, but the teddy bear.
Oh.
With sitting there like from a teddy bear, hug. Don't do that to a teddy bear. If you I mean
Sure,
to a teddy bear you can do that.
Yeah.
But
It's a warning to our listeners out there.
Folks, if you meet a bear in the open, don't go hug him. He won't hug back. So you've got huggable bears there.
And this is from the 1930s.
Yeah, it all belongs to the original plan, to put a little bit of ornament, but it's
bit
late.
of fun.
It's later that one sculptor got the commission, the assignment, and so the one bear is just looking at you, with a very don't you give me a hug expression, and the other one has got his paw in something and he's getting honey.
Of course,
because that's what bears do in comic strips. And the other that's got a very young horse, so laying like that from I've got a lot of legs and somehow I feel comfortable. But it's also very yuck.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're a kid of 5 or 6 or 7 years old, it gives you an impression from I like to live here.
Yeah.
So that's this thing, and as you see the roofs.
Yep. Okay, now looking at the roofs, these kind of orange or red.
Yeah, but they are inclined, no?
Yeah.
And this is, there were two currents in architecture in the beginning of the 1900s. And one was the traditional thing, and the other one was the Bauhaus. So the Bauhaus was form followed function. There's a new time coming with aeroplanes and factories and a lot of people, and we need to have a view on the future. And the other one was we are coming from this pastoral times of the 19th century where people were whistling and telling each other fairy tales. So they wanted to continue that kind of building, and the Nazi people were very much in favor of that. In fact, if people come to Berlin, there's some buildings where this division, these two visions can be witnessed, because the traditional way of building has also a very dark side, where people, where the memory of knights and knights coming together and alchemists. So it's got all this mystery where you can go into a building and get this little sense of that mysterious times. As for again the Bauhaus, is what just also plain future, you've got a bright horizon and everything is possible. So they wanted to get away from this beholding, this gripping, encompassing vision of getting people in this one ideology and just hold them in your hand. So this Grazer Damm is an expression of that, of having the tradition. That they got up is because they needed the space to house as many people as possible.
Right.
But they rounded it off with this kind of roofs. And then we are in the inner courtyard, and please give me your expression.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, because
impression.
Yeah, my impression is that because we are in the square part, but it's quite large, but you can hear the sound of leaves. So there's lots of trees. God knows how old they are actually. I can't imagine they're from the 1930s, but
this must be
most
after the
recent.
war.
Yeah, and there's a very minimalist children's playground, but again, I don't imagine that's so old either. It's just very flat and functional, I guess. I mean, it's for the people to enjoy a bit of greenery in the centre of this huge kind of square that could be like it could be like a prison or something like that, with some, like Rinus said, archways that lead to the roads on the outside. But we're in the centre of it, and it's kind of depressing. It's a bit depressing because it's just like they've done the minimal amount possible to let people just have a bit of space. And there are paths, of course, with little stones on leading around and things, but it's open. It's an open space so that everyone can share it, I guess.
Yeah, but this is intentional, and
so you can look at each other. Actually, everyone can see each other.
It's not
the trees.
It's not made for the people. It's made for the buildings.
Yep. Right.
Because if a bomb would fall here, and if you would have a giant fire hose, it wouldn't go to the other side.
Okay.
Yeah. So whereas in cities where all the houses are next to each other, the whole neighborhoods would burn.
Yeah.
So if one wing of this square would start to burn, the others wouldn't.
No, right.
So that is one reason that they build it here. But also when a bomb falls, you've got these shock waves, and also shock waves make that other buildings crumble.
Yeah.
And that's here the shock wave can go everywhere.
Wow, so it was designed for that, because they knew that that was a big possibility.
Yeah.
As you say, planning for the war, you know, which is crazy, isn't it? But the buildings look quite dark inside as well, don't they? Like if you look in some of the open windows and things. I mean, I know it's overcast today, but it's not. It doesn't look very nice to sort of live in.
And that's the thing, that it had to have this military standing in line expression, because you've got so much wall and so little window.
Yep.
And those windows could have been a little bit bigger. I've seen a couple where there were blocks coming out of it a little bit, and there was windows added to the whole, so that you had a whole corner of one such block, that would give you light. And because they had so little money, everything is tiny. A tiny kitchen, a tiny bathroom, a tiny toilet, and it's 2 or 3 rooms, and it was meant for large families. And maybe it's a monument now, but if time travel would be possible, and they would have brought here after being blindfolded for 10 minutes and giving some whoosh 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 sensations to our body, for we're time traveling, or we are not time traveling, we are teleported to somewhere else. And if you would tell me, okay, this is the richer neighborhood of Moldavia or Bulgaria, I would believe you.
Right. Because it looks the same as.
And that's all the critics we have for these Eastern parts, because they have the misery of socialism, and they didn't have money to build the houses and to house those people properly. And now you're here in Berlin, and it still is here. Tear it down.
Not so easy.
But I guess it's a monument now. And now I come to, we can almost round this off. Now I come to the balconies, and I've been to the other parts as well. They're more or less all the same. It's very much repetition. It's also that on the street side, it should all look like theatrical. From this big masses of people standing in line to greet the troops coming in.
Interesting. I can see that. Yeah.
So it also has that purpose, because from here, and then like I said, from you come from the south, you enter the city, but then you would enter Germania, and Germania is from this is what we achieved, and then the little satellites around it, but. Again, it gives an impression to me that those people couldn't care less about their subordinates. They were only there to raise their hand and shout Sieg Heil and to give them the power. I can put a little side note later on that. But you see the balconies. Originally, these houses belonged to a Gemeinschaft, a social housing thing. That you become a member and you can rent from them, no? But then it was sold to one company, and in the same year it was sold to Deutsche Wohnen. And then it was sold again. So then they started to put balconies.
Okay.
And even if monument, the laws of the monumental care said you're not allowed to do this. This is eventually already well made, but you've got all the other balconies that is like you go and get a balcony at the Baumarkt. They're made of metal and they're on metal poles and they go up to the apartment under the roof. But this means with a balcony your apartment is worth a little bit more. So that's why they made it, so that they could sell it for a little more money.
But these balconies were made a long time afterwards then, yeah. So when were they made then? In the 70s or something?
Yeah, but if I read this right, could be even be 80s and 90s.
Okay, yeah. So these are new additions to these quite old buildings then. But it looks like a huge factory space actually. The factory of people living in cramped apartments, like you say, on an industrial scale. Where we are now is a huge square, and you can imagine the square, and where we're sitting is in the centre of this square. And I'm really shocked that they still have these images, these little statue or minuets, is that right? I don't know, not minuets, that's something else entirely. But these statues above some of the doorways, which are homages to the Nazis. I mean, the people who live here, they can't care about it, or it's not important to them at all.
Yeah, but there's also a city council, and even the name Grazer Damm, it's a direct memory of a criminal act in the history of the world. Because those people in Austria didn't want to become a part of a National Socialist regime. I mean, this is all forced by people who are mobsters and crooks and criminals. And okay, I want to put a little side note to this whole thing, because every time I have the notion that when people talk about Hitler and Stalin and Mao, it's all happening in the realm of politics. For whatever politics it was, even if it was extreme right, it was still politics. That's how it is considered. Okay, this is dictator, and it is within the politics that this was possible. But if you want to understand people like Stalin and people like Hitler, you should make a very thorough study of the behavior of mafia bosses. You should watch The Godfather 1, 2 and 3 at least 10 times. You should watch every movie about mafia. And what you have, you've got one padre, you've got one head of the family, and he's the boss. And he decides. And then they also always have some legal connection who makes that whatever they do will fit in legal procedures. So earning money has to be legalized. And they also are friends with mayors and friends with important political figures, etc., etc., etc. So if, for example, you take a very important act in history that is between Russia and Germany. Von Ribbentrop and Molotov, they signed the pact not to attack each other. Which again can be explained politically. But if we go to a city where you've got city gangs, also the two heads of those gangs, they can come together and say hey, you stay out of my hood and I stay out of your hood, okay? And once the time comes that we can take over that other hood, we divide it between us. So that's what they did. Von Ribbentrop said in the name of Stalin, hey, you stay away from us. And Hitler said, by mouth of Molotov said for Stalin, and Von Ribbentrop said being the mouth of Hitler, you stay out of ours. And once we go into Poland, okay, we can divide it. And that's what happened. And then what mobsters always do, they don't trust each other. So they go and kill each other at the end anyway. And that's World War II at the East Front for you. And that's also from the mafia people. The mafia people, they're very good. They're very good for all the normal people, as long as they obey to mafia rules. Okay, you can have your little shop, and if your daughter has a birthday, we give some presents, and we don't do anything to you, and we will protect you when somebody else will come from outside. We give you houses. We don't have a lot of money because we have to make Germany great again, but we give you houses. And it's the same now as it is the same then.
And here we are.
And here we are, yeah.
And the propaganda as well, you know,
Yeah.
convincing people that this is the way forward. And
I mean, it's very silent, but would I like to live here?
would you, Rinus? I mean, now it's summer, although today is a bit
and then it becomes
overcast today.
winter, and everything is the color of that, which is, what color is it even?
The greyest, dirty grey that you can imagine.
It's the color of wet earth where for a long time no flowers have been growing.
Yeah, and it's not very inspiring, I must say. Yep, I don't think I would like to live here. But do we have a choice, you know, and those people then, did they have any choice?
Especially after the war. Especially after the war, it was terrible. So wherever they could put people, they would put them. They did even what has become now the Karl Marx Allee. The very first buildings there, they were 28 square meters, and they had to put it up fast because people were living together, families were living together. So if this still stood, they were happy with it. And now, yeah, it's so many people living here, and there's so much coal dioxide will be liberated to the sky that that this will go on.
Okay.
Way to go.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's try
So,
and
Jason,
teleport ourselves out of here.
thanks for bringing us here.
Yep, and thanks for not being here at all.
Yeah, I can understand completely that you decided not to come. But people in the world, it's definitely worth a visit because it's one of the remaining
Monuments or
monuments or
working monuments.
witnesses. It's a witness in stone of an era that has long been gone. So if you want to see fascist Berlin, come and visit the Grazer Damm. I mean, that's also the kind of tourism.
We have been left alone, I must say. You know, like no one's thrown anything at us from the windows here or engaged us in any conversation.
What languages did we hear? We heard Yugoslavian and some other Baltic language.
But it's very minimal. I mean, there's literally no one around in this huge area in the centre. You'd think people would be outside enjoying well, it's a bit cooler today, but enjoying the summer or something, but maybe they're all out on holiday or in the canals, or not in the canals, in the lakes. Something like that. Or what day is it? It's Friday, yeah. Everyone's working probably.
The beautiful thing though is that I've seen lots of flower beds with many colored flowers. But that's a policy of Berlin of this year. You see flowers everywhere.
So,
yeah.
Thank you for listening to Radio 1 Berlin, the historic series with Rinus Van Alebeek and Jason Honea is not here for this particular one, but I'm sure he'll return and there'll be news of his adventures.
He inspired us.
So visit our website on www.radioonberlin.com and listen to our podcasts and support Radio 1 in any way you can. Subscribe and contact us as well. We're always grateful to hear from our listeners. Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye-bye. See you at the next time.
You have been listening to Radio on Berlin. Yeah!